Hey, welcome in, welcome back everybody. It is Laura, and we are going to break down these collective energies for the weekend because there is a pulsing energy going on connected to divine timing. We have a lot of mercurial aspects playing out this weekend, and I do feel as God's messenger kind of dances with a lot of these karmic giants in astrology. We have this beautiful backdrop of rewiring, psychic insight, and this power reclamation energy. And so I feel a lot of fated conversations. There's going to be feminine surrender, and we're kind of at the hands of fate and destiny this weekend. And so what's not been said is going to be spoken out loud, the very loudest. We are at a turning point, I feel, for divine feminine energy this weekend, where we are finally stepping out of waiting and we're stepping into trusting. We're no longer trying to force anything. We're no longer questioning how, when. We're no longer dissecting these external energies. We are surrendering to divine orchestration. And so let's break it down, because this weekend we do have Mercury in a trine to Saturn and Neptune. Both of those outer planets are in pre-retrograde shadow energy. They're both going to be going retrograde in July. We have Mercury just entered into Leo. It is in its pre-retrograde energy on Sunday, as it is in an opposition to Pluto in Aquarius, which is already retrograde. And so there is a lot of reckoning connected to illusions, is really what this is feeling like for me. Reversals and emotional withdrawal. So let's break it down day by day. So today, Friday, we do have Mercury and Leo in a trine to Saturn in Aries at 1 degree 44. This brought forward for me the energy of the Magician reversed in the Four of Cups. And so this is where communication meets karma and structure. But there's a sense of resistance here in the energy, right? Because the Magician reversed is revealing doubts, I feel, connected to personal power. There could be doubts about the clarity that's coming through, or doubts about manifestation capabilities. And that Four of Cups energy, there's a clear indication here of emotional stagnation or detachment that needs to be overcome. Maybe you've missed the cues, maybe you've missed the signs, maybe you've missed that divine nudge in these energies. Maybe you're too focused on what it is you didn't get, and so you're not even seeing the opportunities right in front of you. So the message really is, I feel, where the mind wants to control something, the heart already knows better. So drop into the heart, because I feel there's like a cosmic pause before we take those next steps, because of all of this retrograde energy at play, right? And so there needs to be integration before action can be taken. The nice thing about the energies today, though, is we do have Venus in Taurus in a sextile to the North Node in Pisces at 22 degrees orb 6. The Fool reversed in the Lover. So we don't want to miss an opportunity, because we are on the edge of a new path connected to love, soul love, divine counterpart unions. And the Fool reversed is kind of showing that fear of the unknown. We can't grab on to something that is meant for us, holding on to the past, or holding on to something that hasn't shown to be able to show up for us in our physical reality. And so there's almost like a disconnection from heart choices with this transit, but there's also this inner alignment at play connected to the soul's counterpart. And so there could be like this energy, I feel, where illusions around twin flame connections are dissolving, right? And so we are dissolving these illusions connected to the twin flame fantasy, and we do have to dissolve that illusion so we can create that space for inner union. It does all come down to inner union. And so if something isn't aligned, if it's not meant for you on your path, it's not going to be coming forward, right? It's going to be removed from your energy field. And so allow your heart to be recalibrated to this new truth that is coming back online, and don't hold on to the hope anymore, right? We can't hold on to the fantasy or the hope of somebody returning. We really need to ground into our worth and realize we don't want somebody to come back that didn't see our worth. We want somebody to see our worth the first time around. And so tomorrow on Saturday, we're going to have Mercury and Leo in that trine to Neptune in Aries at 2 degrees 09, High Priestess and Hermit. So there is a Piscean Virgo axis at play here, where the mystical mind meets the guide, the inner guide, right? The hermit. And so this really is a shift, I feel, towards those sacred insights. Trines for me are portal activations, right? And so there's sacred insight that does require spiritual solitude, right? So we got to quiet the noise in order to tap into the dreams, the signs, the synchronicities, and this deep knowing that is kind of surfacing in these energies. And so I do feel divine feminine wisdom is really potent over the coming days. So be quiet, be still, because these signs, these truths, they're going to be undeniable. So let that inner hermit voice speak to you. It's going to be so much louder than all of that external noise if you quiet the mind, because we know what it is we're meant to do. And so we can't keep doing what we're told to do. We have to trust in our inner guidance. And here's where the hiccup comes in, because on Sunday we do have Mercury in Leo opposing Pluto in Aquarius at 3 degrees 10. This is the energy of the Empress and the Wheel of Fortune. This is where a core moment kind of reaches its pivot point. This weekend, there's going to be mental, emotional, and energetic confrontation between this truth and what still needs to be transformed for the divine feminine. This is the Empress energy, right? The divine feminine standing in her sovereignty. But in order to do that, we have to bring forward the karmic changes. And so this twin flame journey catalyzes the wheel spinning us forward, right? There's fated breakdowns for breakthroughs. There's going to be a final, I feel, internal breakthrough for the divine feminine, where Pluto is going to reveal everything that's been hidden, connected to the obsessions, right? The power plays, the buried truths below the surface. And Mercury is here to help us verbalize that. And because it's in the sign of Leo and it's about to go retrograde, whatever house Mercury is sitting in, this is the part of your chart that's being transformed, connected to these twin flame beliefs. And so I'm going to have this transit at play between my 6th house of Leo and my 12th house of Aquarius. And so I've really been unearthing the twin flame dynamic recently, and the journey at whole, being brought back to the beginning of the journey where I was obsessed and I did chase that outcome, and I thought that my whole existence was dependent on this external person. And guess what? It's not. There is healing after the breakdown if we choose to bring in these karmic changes. And so whatever was hidden, it's going to be unearthed. It's going to come to light. And this really is the voice activation, the throat chakra activation, where we get grounded in our new sense of value and that new vision moving forward. And so let the fates speak to you. Let whatever plays out, plays out. Stop chasing an outcome. Stop chasing a person. Because when you stop chasing and you go within, then you can finally receive the lesson and bring it full circle, okay? And so divine feminine, this is the moment in time where you are being asked to fully embody that sovereignty and choose yourself. You have to choose yourself. And when we choose ourselves, then we actually are choosing alignment, and that's when everything shifts. So divine timing is unfolding this weekend. The wheel is going to turn with or without your permission, right? That's the wheel of fate turning us forward. The divine feminine, I feel, really is in this portal gateway of releasing expectations when we surrender to the when, the how, the why, and we trust. We trust in the journey, even if we don't quite know what is next or ahead. That's when everything shifts, because these energies are bringing that mental clarity. We're going to be met with a lot of truthful revelations this weekend. Communication is likely going to be intense, but it's also going to be intuitive, and it's going to be catalytic. Okay. And so take these spiritual insights, because they are peaking this weekend. Dreams, synchronicities, intuitive hits. They're going to be strong. They're going to be on point. And I do feel the reversals that I was shown connected to the tarot insights are really signaling a time of deep inner alignment. That's really needed first and foremost before the external reality can really shift. And so journal about these truths. I was shown a vision of a mountain, actually several mountains on the horizon, and it was nighttime. It was very dark, and the sky was filled with stars. It was just a beautiful sight. And in the reflection was this lake, and the mountains in the reflection of a very still lake. And I'm going to be journaling about that message because I do feel there's a lesson here that is reaching completion for my own personal journey. And so allow yourself that quiet time, especially Saturday, I feel, to listen deeply to your intuition. So I'm getting ready to pack up and we're taking off for the long weekend, and we're going to be spending the weekend out on the lake, out on the boat, grounding these energies in nature. It is the long weekend here in Canada, so happy long weekend to any of my Canadian subscribers. I do know the US has their long weekend next weekend. Release control over the timeline, right? Because right now we have to really realize if we're trying to force something, then what is meant to unfold really can't unfold for our path. So don't force. Release that control. The Empress energy knows when to pull back, knows when to nurture herself, your body, your space, nurture it all, and watch for the messages, right? And they could just come up in conversations, and this could trigger a strong reaction. So be mindful of your communications this weekend, because Pluto really is pointing to us what needs to be healed still, right? What needs to be transformed, what needs to be unearthed. And so I do feel the most affected signs this weekend are going to be Leo and Aquarius placements, especially in the first decan from 0 to 10 degrees. Aries, Taurus, and Pisces, of course, you are also going to be affected in the early degrees in the first decan. And so those that have strong Mercury, Pluto, or Venus placements are also going to be affected, especially if you find yourself in twin flame separation. If you've been in a no contact phase with somebody that is an emotional avoidant, take this shift and surrender. We can't make people be emotionally available, right? We have to detach from those that have chosen to opt out of the journey and have opted out of, connection and vulnerability. Detach from those, because we are in this portal, I feel, of divine redirection. So I don't think the energies this weekend are so loud per se, but it's going to be profound. It's definitely a very profound energy we're sitting in, but it's in the quiet moments that we're going to have these very deep revelations about our path. There could be unexpected tears surfacing as this purging, and there's just going to be these undeniable signs that you just can't ignore anymore. And I do feel this is a strong message for the divine feminine, where this is the releasing to the clinging to the old story, right? We have to release the old story, the fantasies, these illusions, and we have to let the wheel move us forward. We kind of have to let Jesus take the wheel, right? We have to let spirit take the lead at times. And so surrender does not mean giving up. Surrender is creating that space so we can begin to move with grace, not resistance, right? And so trust in whatever tides are shifting this weekend, because it is perfect divine timing for this shift, okay? So let's dig a little bit deeper in with the oracle and the tarot messages, and let's see what else the cards have to say about these weekend energies. All right, let's talk about it. Let's break it down. The first card out today for the weekend energies is the Cancer card. I do believe this recently come out. I don't know if it was the last reading I did or not, but it is the card speaking of immersing ourselves into this Cancerian energy. As you can see, it's a 4 card, and so there is a divine masculine undertone. I also feel this undertone of the Chariot, that 4 of Cups energy I channeled, and a King of Cups in reversed. And so there is a powerful echo here connected to that recent Jupiter ingress into Cancer. And I know there's a lot of astrologers talking about how lucky this is because Jupiter is exalted in the sign of Cancer. But let's face it, there is a navigation of these emotional waters. There's ancestral healing here. There is a need to step into emotional maturity, and there is an inner child here that needs to be nurtured. And so I am picking up on a divine masculine archetype, likely in Cancerian energy, major Cancer placements in the first big 3, sun, moon, rising, possibly all 3. I could also be picking up on somebody with a Cancer placement in the 11th house Cancer, or somebody who just holds a lot of Cancerian emotional archetypes, that protective, avoidant, nostalgic Cancerian masculine energy. And so there is almost like an inner and outer homecoming here. I do feel a divine masculine questioning where he belongs, questioning how he's supposed to honor his emotional vulnerability and to stay sovereign at the same time. And so there's also a nodding energy towards the 4th house themes as well, because Cancer naturally rules the 4th house. So I do feel some family karma here. I feel some lineage clearing taking place, and this is all connected to emotional foundations, especially for a divine masculine. I do feel there is a divine masculine energy coming through very strongly today, facing patterns around mother and father wounds and deep emotional suppression. And so I do feel this is connected to the Mercury in Leo, trine Saturn in Aries energy, where I do feel there's a mind energy here that wants to express, but there's also this energy of needing integrity and maturity. And this Cancer energy, I'm feeling it very deeply. There is a push-pull energy between wanting to be seen and almost like a fear of judgment coming through. And I also feel, in connection to the divine feminine, there is an inner knowing of this emotional intuition of Cancer coming through, that your softness is not weakness, but it is wisdom. And so we go right into the 11th house, which is why I feel there could be an 11th house Cancerian energy coming through. It doesn't have to be, but the 11th house is connected to our community, our social groups. There is a collective shadow energy here, I feel, with the dark hand. There is an illusion of a community or a social group that really has been masking emotional disconnection. There's a sense of like performative connection coming through. And I do feel a social circle here that has really enabled a divine masculine's emotional avoidance and possibly even spiritual bypassing. And so there is a call to discern here the difference between belonging in a sense of community and blending in. And this is especially relevant, I want to say, for a divine masculine who has probably built his identity around external acceptance, right? And so for the divine feminine, this could also be for you a moment of clarity where you are really starting to feel emotionally safe within a current social circle, or maybe you're just being called to divine feminine to seek more authentic, heart-centered connections within the community. And I do feel that connection to Jupiter and Cancer as well. We're bringing that back into focus. And there is emotional belonging here versus that groupthink. And so there is a humanitarian ideal connected to our 11th house. And when we're misaligned to our humanitarian efforts, it does breed emotional detachment, and we cloak that in a sense of logic. And so I do feel there is a confrontation here connected to a divine masculine where maybe he's allowed his social group to define his reality, and he's being urged to return to his truth. Very strange that the divine masculine is coming through very loudly. And then we get the Juno card, and this is a card of partnership. But I always feel a Five of Wands undertone with this Juno card, and almost like a lover's reversed quality. This card really cuts deep when I tap into this energy, right? And so if we talk about Juno in astrology, it does represent soul contracts, it represents commitment, and it represents power and control dynamics within partnerships. And so I'm picking up on a shadowy energy of jealousy, manipulation, gossip. It does feel like a karmic soul contract is being revealed, and this could be linked to a soul level partnership, possibly a false twin flame or a karmic twin flame. There is a very distorted dynamic here connected to a past life soul tie playing out, and I do feel there is a mirroring of this shadowy energy. There's almost like this feeling of like a psychic tug of war where two karmic parties are learning sovereignty through disillusionment in this mirroring connection. And I do feel this is your initiation, divine feminine, to release any involvement with any entanglement, because your clarity is going to be your boundary in the energies this weekend. And with Venus and Taurus is actually very profound. It's at its home energy. There's a completion of a cycle around self-worth for you, divine feminine, embodiment and sensual sovereignty, I feel. And with the Juno theme arising in this reading today, I also feel this does symbolize old soul contracts dissolving, especially any romantic relationships that were rooted in codependency or any energetic siphoning. And so all of that is kind of closing out. And what I love that came through on the bottom of the deck, there you are, divine feminine, the beloved. This is the world. This is the empress. This is the Queen of Cups. And so I do feel a connection here, possibly in separation with the King of Cups in reverse. Somebody emotionally attached, not emotionally available, probably due to them being in another soul contract is really what this is feeling like today. But I love that the divine feminine is on the bottom of the deck, and below the Venus energy is Taurus. And so this is where the divine feminine, I feel, completes that cycle of this spiral of evolution. You've walked through the flames of betrayal. You've walked through the flames of longing, and you've kind of disillusioned yourself of all of these illusions, and now you're ready to radiate love without any attachment. And so Venus energy coming out with the Taurus, this is just a testament to your surrender in these energies, right? Where you release the twin flame path. And it's not really a loss, right? Because anybody that doesn't see our worth or our value or walks away from us, it's not a loss. It's a liberation, right? Because we don't want to anchor in to any codependencies. We want to anchor into unconditional love. Love that doesn't chase. Love that doesn't need to prove. And love that doesn't need a collapse in order to be rebuilt. And so this really is the stressing of the importance of embodiment for you, divine feminine, where your loving presence isn't just for others. It's for you. It's for your own inner child. It's for your own inner masculine energy, okay? And so I kind of just feel there's a new karmic destiny playing out here, especially for the divine feminine who has chosen to release the illusions, the old timeline, the old twin flame story. And there's a divine feminine energy coming through very strongly that is getting rooted in authentic expression, getting grounded in self-love and relational harmony. And so this really is not just healing romantic wounds, but this is being that living transmission of love in motion, okay? So let's break down the tarot spread, and the main focus is this Three of Wands. And so it's like the path has been chosen. Now we have to take those steps, and then we can receive our ships that are kind of coming in. And so there is this undertone too, I feel, of an emotional reckoning going on here. I do feel, especially for a divine masculine who has emotionally bypassed, who has chosen people pleasing, or has chosen to project his pain into any external dynamics. There is a reckoning here. And I do feel the divine feminine energy, she's on the rise. And this isn't out of a sense of rebellion, but there's a deep resonance of the divine feminine choosing herself, choosing peace over drama, choosing purpose over confusion, and wholeness over waiting. So let's break down this reading row by row. We are going to talk about the top row, and we got the Six of Wands. We have the Moon, and we have the Nine of Coins. And so there's heart expansion through a lot of hidden awareness here is what this feels like, okay? So the Six of Wands energy is screaming victory. Victory, public recognition, and leadership, and somebody that has really honed in on inner validation. And so with Jupiter just entering into Cancer, this is Jupiter. Jupiter rules expansion. Leo rules the heart. And so I do feel the divine masculine that is coming through in this reading is undergoing almost like a silent heart chakra activation, watching a divine feminine rise. Right? Rise in visibility, rise in sovereignty, rise in radiance. And there is like a stirring of admiration here and activation. There is a longing for this masculine to match this divine feminine frequency, but he's in hiding. He's still needing to work through pride wounds and shame that I feel are surfacing. And so we could have a divine masculine that is a moon in Pisces. Doesn't have to be, but we do have strong Piscean energy coming through. And so what I'm feeling with this is a lot of subconscious illusions. There's a lot of fears. There's a lot of projections. There's a lot of shadows. And because Pisces was first ruled by Jupiter and now ruled by Neptune, these are two significant outer planets at play here, right? And so there's hidden feelings here. There's past life energy here. There's emotional confusion on the rise as a divine masculine, I feel, isn't really consciously understanding what it is that they're feeling, but they recognize a soul shift. There's an intuitive and spiritual energy coming through here that does reflect a mystical undercurrent of the Venus energy, right? The Venus North Node energy. It's like a call to go home, a call to that soul truth. And really that soul truth really is not logical. And then we get a Virgo divine feminine energy coming through. So we could have a divine feminine energy with strong Taurus placements or Virgo placements in the big three. But I do feel there is a very independent divine feminine here, grounding in self-worth and inner abundance. There is a feminine here that is very service oriented, and there's some past life clearing taking place connected to the South Node in Virgo. There's an embodiment of the Empress in real time. This is a divine feminine who is very single, very connected in her heart-centered truth, speaking her loving truth, possibly a business owner doing very well, and she's not waiting. She's creating. And so I do feel there is a divine masculine here observing a divine feminine with awe and reflection. And there's a divine feminine very independent. And this is the catalyst for this divine masculine's internal growth. Let's talk about the middle row, because we go from the 2 to the 3 of Wands to the Knight of Pentacles. And so there is progression. There's a lot of Aries energy coming through, Mars and Aries, Sun and Aries energy. There's strategic planning. There's internal decision making. There's the manifestation on the horizon. There's a strong divine anticipation. Mars is currently in Virgo, but there's fire energy playing out with the Mercury trine to Saturn and Neptune in Aries, which is really in alignment to this Aries energy of taking action. And so there's a lot of contemplating movement. Right? And so there's a choice. The 2 of Wands is a choice. We always have a choice. We can step out of that comfort zone and take action to go towards alignment. There's an impulse here to act. I feel like an impulsive energy to take action, but there's also a need to temper that with the Knight of Pentacles, the slowest moving knight in the deck. And so there's a strategizing energy with the Mars and Virgo energy, and there's still an unsurety about the next move to take. And so there is a soul contract here for sure at play, pulling the divine masculine forward. And although I don't feel he's in motion yet because he's dilly-dallying here, there's an energetic movement taking place. There's a mirroring energy, I feel, of something coming into form, but it's going to require surrender. And so the Knight of Pentacles is saying slow and steady wins the race, right? There is an integration here taking place as Mars transits through Virgo. There's also that connection to the South Node with past life soul ties and a need for that karmic balancing. And so I do feel there is a divine masculine quietly doing the work in hiding, in the shadows, revisiting possibly some old belief systems, healing any root chakra issues, and preparing to move at, I'm going to say, a snail's pace or at a soul pace, not an egoic speed of the Aries energy, right? And so the journey really is about being humbled. It's about being practical. And in the journey, twin flame journey is deeply karmic. Let's get real. It is very deeply karmic. So let's break down the bottom row. We have the Hierophant, we have the Devil, and we have the Ace of Wands. And so there is a spiritual awakening here at play this weekend. There is a shadow release, and there is a new spark, a new flame, a new fire. And so there is spiritual structure here. We got that Taurian energy coming through again today. The Hierophant is connected to traditions, to contracts, to divine order. It's also connected to sacred teachings. And so because Venus is the ruler of this Taurus energy, there is the divine feminine closing out this cycle as it sextiles the North Node. And this is where I feel the masculine is being reinitiated into sacred partnership with the divine. And so he's going to have to break free of rigid, outdated belief systems, right? Because this is connected to belief systems, religious beliefs, family beliefs, government beliefs. And I do feel there is this energy of a mirroring, calling the masculine to the next level of also stepping into a guide for others. But he first has to come into alignment with his sacred truth in order to become that high priest, like the feminine mystic, right? The feminine high priestess. And so there is a shadow attachment here as well that needs to be dealt with the Devil card. So there's like an obsession here, almost like an obsession or an addiction. There could be some type of karmic entrapment here that we talked about above with the Juno energy coming through. This is also connected to that Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, and Capricorn is the evolutionary ruler of that. There's a breaking down of these false attachments, right? We had the Pluto and Capricorn energy play out for about 16 years. So there's still that undertone at play as we rebirth this Pluto and Aquarius retrograde energy. And so there could be a lot of obsessive thoughts that need to be worked through. There could be power struggles. I do feel there's obsession around the divine feminine's independence and this past connection. There's something here that needs to be transmuted. There is a shadow side of control and dogma that needs to be burned away before we can go towards this creative rebirth, right? And so there is a new desire being sparked. There is inspiration. There is initiation. There is this Mercury trine Saturn and Aries energy providing that mental clarity to ground in these new ideas, but it's going to go retrograde. So we're going to have to reevaluate. We're going to have to revise. We're going to have to rethink. We're going to have to rebuild. And so there is a soul spark, a soul flame being ignited, but we do have to break the chains with the Devil first, right? We have to break the chains with the Devil in order for that new mission to come full circle. There is a new creative path here. And there's a new sense of self, I want to say, being emerged, especially for the divine masculines who are choosing to release those shame-based stories. Let's talk about the bottom of the deck. We did get the star. I stopped at the star. I decided to put it over here, and I noticed the high priestess below the star. So we're going to talk about it. There is soul healing here. There is intuitive alignment, and there's certainly divine timing. This is connected to the Pluto retrograde energy, and this is the divine feminine energy, the Piscean mystery of the divine feminine. So there is hope, there is soul healing, and there is that bigger vision coming in, I feel, where the divine masculine is being realigned to his soul purpose, and Pluto retrograde is stripping him of ego. Those that chose to awaken, that are answering the call. And so this is revealing truth. This is revealing light. This is the divine feminine holding the vision, I want to say, the embodiment of what is possible on the healing journey. And the divine feminine holds all of this hidden sacred wisdom. And so I feel this is a message to the divine feminine to step into divine silence, right? And so healing doesn't have to be loud. This is you, Divine Feminine. This really is you, where you have transcended the need to explain yourself. You've transcended the need to chase. You hold the frequency codes for this ascension. You hold the mirror. You hold the mystery. You hold the anchor. And so your role now is not to reach back out to anybody. I never encourage you to reach out to somebody. You have to be the one to receive. You have to be in the gravitational pull. Keep ascending. Keep transcending. Keep embodying that divine feminine truth, because that is how you call others on the path into their truth, okay? Into their truth, because there's a lot of lies being exposed this weekend, okay? So I just feel there is a lot of emotional activations. I'm feeling massive, intense pressure on my third eye right at the moment. I do feel there's a lot of divine masculines watching the divine feminine rise. And this is the catalyst for this collective change. And it is igniting a lot of conflict, a lot of karmic review. There's a deep pull towards purpose, and there's a challenge, right? Because we have to release obsession, control, and all of the social conditioning and the social masks that we wear in order to conform and fit in. And so I do feel there's a divine feminine here really thriving in her divine perspective, her activation of her soul level mission. And I do feel there's the completion of the old template, right? And so let's talk about the final messages. We did get the change card. So this energy really is supporting our ability to embrace the forever changing nature of reality, right? We change inwardly, we change outwardly. We have to release the old in order to welcome in the new. And so I do feel there's mental maturity, there's soul level decision making here. There's definitely change. There is a pivotal karmic realignment connected to love, self-worth, and purpose this weekend. There's the death and the rebirth of the old paradigms around our personal identity, power, and attachment. And change isn't just external, right? It is existential. We have to go through this shifting of timelines, and we have to stop resisting, right? We can't force ourselves into initiation either. We have to surrender into initiation. And so we're not losing what was meant for us. We're making space for what is destined for us. And so after the storm does come the calm. And so there's got to be an ending in order for the becoming of the new cycle. So embrace the change. It's liberation. It's really not loss. And bottom of the deck, we did get divine masculine energy with the belief card. And so I do feel there is a strong focus on the divine masculine that is going through a current soul reckoning. There's a facing of the collapse of the ego-driven identities here. There's a releasing of external validation loops. There's a realignment with inner truth, emotional depth, and spiritual purpose here. There is a divine masculine here that is beginning to see a divine feminine's worth and gifts through new eyes. And it's not just admiration. I feel a deep sense of reverence coming through today. Sacred balancing between the polarities of the masculine and the feminine energy. And I do feel there is a returning to source. There is a returning to source. And so this is not just the masculine's next level activation. This is the acknowledgement of the role of the mirror, the guide, the live-in embodiment of a divine being. And so I don't think we're returning to the past. I think we're returning to truth. There's a new divine masculine and feminine archetype being born. And these are archetypes that lead through the heart, not through the world. I mean, not through the wound. The world is shifting. The world is shifting. Let's face it, the world is shifting, and so are we. And so divine feminine, keep rising into yourself. Keep lighting that path ahead. Divine masculine, choose to awaken through the reflection of the radiance of the feminine, because we have an ability to step into forging this change. And I do feel we do need to be still. There's a new mission here being activated. So get ready to level up, get ready to let go, and get ready to lead. And that's what I have for a message today. So if you would like to go further with me with some twin flame coaching, some astrology coaching, or a reading, check out the link below to my webpage. I would love to get that booked in for you. Have a great weekend ahead, everybody. And I look forward to seeing you all again next time.